Good time zone, everybody. And you can't see him. You can't see him. Oh, no, there's a tail. No, we actually start the night with a bit of a cat on screen. And good time zone to everyone again. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. It's time for another round of the D and the D today. And my name is Marcus, also known as the Chindividual, and I am here with my fantastic, amazing, handsome, and beautiful players for another session of Convergence Manifesto. How's everyone doing tonight?
Just watching the sneaky points being cashed in. But of course it counts.
Not from player to player.
Oh, we had that like a few sessions ago that it was from player to player.
Yeah, but this was because Austin was back after like a long hiatus.
We had a little special round with that.
Oh,
hey, there we go.
Rebus gets good advantage. Heck yeah! I can't wait to use it.
Thank you very much for that.
Nice.
Yeah, we have. We had an interesting session last week, and I'm already looking forward to continuing that this week. But before we dive in, is there anything anyone of you would like to get out of the way before we get into it tonight?
Happy Lunar New Year to anyone celebrating, watching now or later on. And also in the US, it's Black History Month. Yay!
That is very true.
Ooh.
We're starting the year of the tiger now, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
Is that me? I don't know.
My favorite game got like a baby tiger in game right now, so it's very cute.
Wonderful.
Nice.
With a scarf. It's so cute.
Aww.
Oh, here's my year. I'm a tiger baby.
You're a tiger baby?
Yes.
Aww.
Don't
That's so
Google
cool.
the year range of that, please. or do I don't care.
Very well then. Well, before we go over to our intro for tonight and continue our session, just our standard announcements for tonight. You are here on the channel of Horde of Tales by your own doing or by accident, and no matter how you're here, we're glad you're here. On Horde of Tales, we play tabletop role-playing games, and at the moment, we play Dungeons and Dragons, and to be specific, we run an Eberron campaign here, running the Convergence Manifesto adventures. We are in the second adventure, and we're getting closer and closer to the end of the second adventure. Spoiler alert. But the second adventure is called Live Another Day, and can also be found, if you like what you see here, on the website of the authors of the Convergence Manifesto across Eberron.com. We currently play using Astral, and if you see any kind of battle maps popping up, they were most likely built in Dungeon Draft, which is a very neat little tool to map your own combat maps. And even if you have no artistic talent, you can make a pretty good map in it. We also, as you might have already noticed if you paid attention to the chat, we have a little special thing with the channel points that was already cashed in, thank you very much, Gwenora, for the cat vantage. Because if at any point throughout the stream, you either see a cat on my screen, he's now out of screen, or as we have decided a few sessions ago, on Austin's screen, then you can use your channel points to cash in that cat vantage. And also, let us know who you give the cat vantage to. You can give them to one of the player characters, or you can also give it to the DM if you want to. If anyone gets cat vantage, they can then use it on any of their next rolls to roll with advantage. I think that's it. And with that being said, let's take a quick look at the intro and then get this session started. Be right back. Well, there is a little cat on a stick that has snuck onto Ida's screen.
don't count?
No, that
They're
does
so
not
cute.
count.
How
It is
cute
not
it
a
is.
real cat.
I call
They
it
are
Nyan stick. It's on a stick.
Nyan stick is
That's amazing.
I bought it in Japan, and I'm like, what does this do? I don't
Oh my
care.
God.
it is
What does it do? It is amazing. That's what it does.
it is an adorable stick, but unfortunately not enough for Cat Vantage.
You're
What it,
enough for me, Nyan stick.
what it is also enough for is for me to quickly recap our last session. Last time when we met our adventurers, they had arrived in the mysterious, isolated, secluded, and very magical Shining Valley, where they had an encounter with the Harpy inhabitants of it and were escorted to their leader, Mino. On the way there, our adventurers were able to witness the beauty of the place filled with luscious and verdant life, refreshing water, and, well, harpies that were very curious to see how these outsiders had come to their valley. Mino talked to you in her throne room, and there you served her various stories and possible reasons that you came into their valley. But eventually the conversation got a bit tense, and confusion and maybe frustration brought it close to a boiling point until, through a bit of a gambit, Dythun was able to offer something up that might be of value to Mino as well, mainly some more information on enemies from Droaam approaching the valley. That at least bought the party some time as they were brought to their own dwellings, where there was a bit of more conversation on what to do, what to tell them, and Delphine decided that she just was too damn tired for all of this and took a nap. And eventually there was a second meeting with Mino, who came to the party's dwelling. And after some more confusing conversation, but fruitful conversation, and not just because of the delicious fruit present in the room, you were able to extend your stay overnight and were allowed as guests under observation in the Shining Valley. And we ended the last session as night crept over this magical place. The harpies in the distance started their siren song to call onto the night, a song that sounds familiar to the gentle song that comes from the sunrise sapphire that is in your belonging. And the night at this point is young, and even though there are guards standing outside your dwelling, you are technically guests here. And so, adventurers, what would you like to do?
I want to win D&D. I mean,
valiant
simply.
A valiant goal.
You're welcome to try.
What do I roll for that? No, let's see. I mean, Dythun definitely wants to like go for a nighttime stroll, both to look around the village and also curious about their security measures, not necessarily from a like how can we beat these security measures standpoint, just more of a how does this group of harpies defend themselves, like more just like observationally curious about it, if that makes any sense.
Getting a lay of the land and what kind of defensive measures they have.
Yeah, just like I wonder how they do that here.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
Anyone else who would maybe like to join on the walk or do something else? Rebus?
As I see Dythun, I assume, get up and get ready to go for a stroll,
mhm.
I'll actually stand up from over at the table and go up to him and say, Mr. Dythun, if you don't mind, I don't really need sustenance, and I was very curious about this culture. So if you're going outside for a bit of a walk, mind if I accompany you?
Oh, by all means. I'd love a bit of company, sure. Is there any more of the baruki fruit, by the way? Just like slices of it?
There are still slices of it there. Yeah.
Okay, he's gonna take a slice of it and just hold it in his hand. He has a plan for it, but he's just holding it. He's not eating it.
No,
Perfect.
just randomly, just carry it for
Like, yeah,
a
you just
stroll.
walk around with a piece
Snack.
of fruit. Why not?
It's my new pet.
This is baruki.
All right.
Yeah, he's gonna grab that and then I guess head outside and see what there is to see.
Gotcha.
I personally would also like to go
I'll
outside,
grab-
but I prefer even more so to keep an eye on our Sleeping Beauty. Perhaps I will do so after you return.
Seems smart. I know we're guests here, but probably best not to leave any of us alone.
Agreed.
Dythun will hear in their head, I can keep this connection up just a few minutes. So, should something spectacular happen in the next 3 minutes, let me know.
He just kind of gives a nod.
Delphine, are you still sleeping, or are you?
Probably for like a few hours.
Gotcha.
So it's like long day, getting up early.
Good idea. All right. So, as Rain stays here to watch over sleeping Delphine, Rebus and Dythun, you leave the dwelling. You open the door and you notice that flanking the exit are Harpy guards, one on each side. Both of them dressed in like this leather armor, having these long, nicely crafted spears, and they just both immediately look at you as you step outside, and they just keep an eye on you. And if you start moving away from the dwelling, one of them starts following you, while the other one still stays with the building.
Yeah, I think as we leave, Dythun would probably say like something along the lines like, just going for a stroll. I know you'll probably want to keep an eye on us, but thought I'd let you know we're just taking in the sights.
The Harpy just looks at you, nods, and then just keeps following.
Well, since you're coming with us, where would you recommend? I'm sorry, I don't want to cause any trouble or be a nuisance to anybody in the village. I would just like to walk around and learn a bit about your usual customs. So, is there a place I could go and maybe observe or learn without intruding too much? I don't know, a particular hut or a square or a place where maybe your artisans may be making something, or a cook, or anything really.
Just while you ask them all that, they just have like one eyebrow raised and say, if you're curious about those kind of things, Ragi might be able to tell you something. He's our herbalist, druid, lorekeeper, know-it-all.
Is that official title? Know it all.
Especially that last one, yes.
That sounds exactly like what I'm looking for. Thank you so much. Where might I find these Lorekeeper Roki?
And as you ask that, the guard like quickens their pace a bit, steps past you, and instead of like following you, they take the lead and point into a direction where they're heading.
Alrighty.
And
I
you
will
note
gladly
notice that
follow.
the guard leads you like further away. Your dwelling was kind of on the edge of the village here, and as the guard leads you in, you come further into larger clusters of buildings. Some of them are earthbound on the ground, but most of them seem to be more like the farming buildings, the pens in which you can keep some of the pigs and other cattle that they keep here. Anything that might be a bit also too heavy to transport to higher places. But the further you get into the village, you see that more and more of the buildings are actually on stilts, on elevated platforms, or actually built onto the ledges into the mountainsides and the hills that also dot this place. So most of these dwellings in which you also see harpies flying in and out of them are on an elevated position. And you actually notice now, especially because you're walking on the ground, you're looking up at most of the buildings. It's like, and you would also get the impression, since most of whatever kind of traffic is happening here is above you, there might not be even many of the other harpies registering you're here. Was it not for the fact that you made quite an appearance a few hours ago at Mino's throne room? You also see now, as almost all the light of the day is gone, you can only see like at the edges in the distance, you can see just the faintest shimmer of twilight still remaining. Stars are coming out over you. It's a clear night tonight. You also see that most of these buildings, they have these ropes with crystals and gems attached to them. And now, as the daylight has gone, these gems start to glow in various warm colors, like these. And there are strings of them that go from building to building, bound from one stilt to another. And it bathed this village in this warm evening glow. It's kind of similar to like if you go into an historical Asian city where they have like these lanterns hanging from building to building, but instead of lanterns, they're actually these glowing crystals. And you actually notice as you pass by some of them, some of these crystals have this gentle humming coming off from them, just very relaxing and soothing. And all of them seem to be in tune with each other, even though they have different pitches and some of them have a little different kind of sound to them. Crystals that are close to each other are harmonizing with each other to create a nice little song, not too loud, but just if you're wandering by, you just hear some gentle notes as you wander by.
Oh, that's pretty.
I will briefly stop next to one of the clusters and try and discern what kind of harmony they have. If it's, based on a semitonal chromatic system, or if maybe they use other kinds of overtones. Like, I'm just curious about what kind of sound they make. You don't have to.
DM, you don't have to explain this in detail, but like Rebus will stop and like make a note of how the sound waves are like interacting.
I will make a note to read the Wikipedia page about sounds.
And then there's Dythun is just like,
I'm
"Oh,
sorry,
they're
this is the musician nerd in me. I'm just like, I wonder what kind of overtones these have. If they have like a more common like instrumental overtone, like most orchestra instruments, or if maybe they are like the cymbals which like have a kind of different kind of overtone, or maybe they're like the bells. Or I'm sorry,
Rebus, how about
nobody cares about this.
But I mean, but Rebus still wants to kind of get more of a feel of like what is the nature of these crystals, what kind of
Well, yes, does the
what kind
music remind them of like any other kind of music
Exactly.
they've ever heard?
exactly.
And
Could you
It's very fitting because Serial is dressed like an 18th century composer. So like, and that's not a diss by any means. I love it. It's just very fitting.
It's 19th century.
19th century.
It's 19th century.
my
You should know
apologies.
your fashion history. I'm sorry.
My apologies. I'll be sure to
Right,
learn all
Rebus.
my fashion history. I
You need
missed
to
that
read the
class.
Wikipedia on fashion history.
What was DM saying?
Rebus, could you give me a investigation check, please?
Certainly.
D&D Beyond is loading. Give it a second.
Oh, neat. 17.
17. All right. Well, as you still follow this guard and you start paying a bit more attention to them, you do notice that different colors of crystals seem to have different kind of... The best comparison you have is instruments to them. Some of them sound more like gentle string instruments, while some of them actually have a percussion instrument sound to them. Some of them make low bass sounds, while others are almost harp-like as you pass them by. So you could link them to the different sounds to different colors of the crystals. All of them are somewhere, are some shade of yellow or red. So anything in between yellow and red, with oranges in between, but also like this ochre yellow in there. And different kind of shades seem to produce different kinds of colors. And you would also notice that these crystals are not raw crystals. They have been brought into shapes. So they have been manually shaped into certain forms, which might also contribute to what kind of sound they make.
Fascinating. I can't wait to ask about this to the Lorekeeper. Continue walking.
Which
Catch up with
eventually,
Dythun.
as you follow the guard further, and you eventually get to what's probably the center of this village, and the guard stops in front of one house that's up on these high 4 stilts, and the top of the house itself, it's like an orb, a large orb that rests on these 4 stilts and has an opening on the front, and like almost looks like chimneys coming out the top of the dwelling. There's a ladder leading up, like a rope ladder leading up to the house, and the guard actually walks up next to the rope ladder, and there's a little string hanging down next to the rope ladder, and the guard just gives it a good tug, and you see that the string actually pulls at some bells, which are up next to the entrance to the dwelling, and you hear like a ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, and a few moments later, poking their head out of the opening, there's this older-looking harpy, very androgynous look to them, and still also the pitch black eyes like all the harpies have here. They have this mop of black hair on their head with a few streaks of white in them, and also little tails with multicolored beads in them dangling from their head. They're covered in stains from something. Some of them look like soot, some of them look like color or dye. And they actually have, you notice for most harpies here, they have on their hands, they still have pretty long claws. They actually have painted their claws in this purple color. And as they lean out, you can hear them say, "Yes, oh, evening visitors. Oh, it's Mino's guests. Come. You can leave them with me. I'll take care of them." And then you hear the guard say, "Yeah, just don't bore them to death. I never bore anyone to death. Come up." And they just quickly
I love them.
they just quickly tug at the rope ladder, like in a gesture, like, "Here, use this rope ladder to climb." You know how to climb, right?
I think Dythun just laughs.
Yes, certainly. I will start to climb the ladder. Internally very excited.
The rope ladder, while it's like a bit shaky climbing it, both of you are competent enough to climb a rope ladder, especially after your climbing display a little earlier. And you get up and you immediately climb into the dwelling of who you assume is Ragi. And it is a combination on the inside of what looks like an archive or library, a little bit of an alchemist's lab, and also an art studio. You see shelves with scrolls and books. There's an alchemist's lab in another corner, as far as a round room has corners. And then there's this painting easel in another corner with pots of paints all over. And you can also see stuck to the walls are like whatever kind of art Ragi has made. But right next to calculations and diagrams and whatever else this person is working on. And Ragi just waves you in as you come in. I assume your guardsman here introduced me already. I am Ragi, and I am in service to Mino and the village as Lorekeeper, alchemist, scientist, and occasionally a bit of an artist. And you are some of the visitors.
Indeed, we are. I am at my most I am sorry, I'm very excited. I've been told you are the person I'm looking for regarding some information and culture on this village, and I am quite interested in learning as much as I can about it. You have a lovely studio.
Oh, I think lovely is not the right description. It's a mess, but in chaos, brilliance shines.
I seem to be familiar with that concept, and I am kind of in my head comparing this place to oh my god, wait, I'm blanking. Give me a
Auntie Moira?
second.
Your auntie?
And Mora's engineering workshop, and seeing how they're very different vibes in the sense of they are very different, like what they are used for, and the people who use them are obviously very different, but yet there is this spark of connection of like a creative mind at work in a space that just makes me think of Aunt Moria and how much I've enjoyed being in her workshop. And it just makes me feel kind of at home in a place as remote and separated from my home as this. So
Beautiful. Yeah,
really fun.
there certainly is a similarity. As you mentioned yourself, there's a significant difference in the kind of chaos it is, but there's also familiarity in it. And Ragi looks at you and says, well, then you've come to the right place. I have lots of information here, but I will be honest. And at this point, Ragi just hopped up on a stool that they have in the room here. It's just this low wooden stool, but they land on both their taloned feet on it, and they do a bit of a crouch position, wings folded behind them, and then just pat their chin with their painted claw. Like, I am a bit curious myself. We've never had a warforged here, but I've heard a lot about them.
Well, I'll happily answer any questions in exchange for any questions you might answer to me. It's only fair we share knowledge together. Although I must warn you, I might not be the most ordinary or average specimen of my kind. As you can see, I've been prepared and changed over time, and my memory is not the most reliable, but by all means, I can tell you as much as I know.
Huh. That's just my luck. A warforged comes into the valley, and it's one with amnesia. Fascinating, though. Well, he looks past you, and then he looks at Dythun. Are you also here to learn a little bit more about the history of my people? Because if you're not, this next little bit might be a little bit, how do my fellow villagers say it? Boring.
Well, I must say, I'm just more interested in the village itself, taking in the sights, wondering where I can get more of this. And he holds up the baruki fruit. Do you have groves?
Well, the night market should be open. I'm sure that the friendly guardsman that accompanies you, if you climb back down, they will be most happy to to bring you to the night market. The baruki fruit grows aplenty here.
Perfect. I will say I will stay and listen. It is curious to me how a society like this operates. I can tell just from the small bit we've walked through town, it varies much from where I've grown up.
Well then, and they point to like two more stools. They have a few stools in here, but also a low bench and also pillows and cushions to sit on. And they just gesture, make yourself comfortable. I think I have a few books and scrolls to take out of my archive. And as they get ready to show you some things, Rain, is there anything you would like to do in the meantime? You would notice that after a while, your connection with your telepathic bond with Dythun would start to fizzle. And you're in here with a still sleeping Delphine in the room. Is there anything you would like to do while you're here?
I wanted to interact with Delphine, but I think I should wait till Kara
All
gets
right.
back.
All right. Well, then how about we continue a little bit more with our scene here
Yeah.
in Ragi's domain. Ragi hops off their stool and goes over to one of the shelves, pulls out some scrolls and books, spreads them out on a table, and they already start talking. It's not too long ago that the haunting song did come here to this valley, and I must say, it was quite the happy occasion that we came upon this place and found this Manifesto of Eberron tucked away here in the Grey Wall Mountains. Yes, please.
So, if I may interrupt, I apologize, but where were you originally native from? Was it still in these mountains? Are you mountain harpies used to the high altitudes and the winds and the snow, or did you come from a completely different place?
Well, all harpies are somewhat accustomed to the thin air up above, the cold winds rolling over her skin and feathers, and of heights. Must admit, I'm still waiting for the day to find a harpy that is scared of heights. But we do parts of the haunting.
Next
Parts of-
character.
Part of the haunting song are further westward, deeper into what is now Droaam, while other parts of the haunting song later joined us from southern parts of the Grey Wall Mountains and other mountainous areas around here. You see, a flight of harpies is not just a collection of families. It is also some of individuals that flock to our cause, that want to contribute to our goals and our living. And so the composition of a flight can change over the generations.
So it is like a living, breathing city, essentially. It does what all other communities do,
And
usually. Just get new members, have a mix of cultures.
especially in a place like the Shining Valley, the living thing that you mention is the key word here. You might have already noticed that since you're here, that you might feel a little bit better, positive, energetic, that the fruit you eat raises your spirits, the water you drink is invigorating.
Yeah, my mechanisms might have had an easier time running since we crossed the threshold of the cave. So I would say that's a good, fair enough.
Well, this
way
place
to
is
put
so
it.
this place is so living that even the stones that we carve out of the rocks sing when we carve them into the right shapes and just put them on the right places. It is the most magnificent place, I must say, and even after years here, I'm still not done studying all its aspects.
I will likely hum the song that our Sapphire, like the melody that our Sapphire was making, that was similar to the one that the Harpies were singing, just like the first, the beginning of it.
As you do that, you see at one point, Ragi starts joining in with the humming, like picks up at one point where you start, and they just automatically continue humming with you. Exactly like that. Huh. You must have picked up our songs quickly. The choirs and some of our flight, they like to sing them in the evening. And, oh, maybe you also heard some of the crystals here in town hum this song, right?
Well, they did catch my attention when we were coming towards your lab. I was wondering if you had any particular selection of songs, or maybe one or two, or if they have different meanings. Did the crystals inspire your songs, or was it the other way around?
Well, not one to fluff my own feathers, but I had a bit of a talent or two in the composition and crafting of some of these stones. Now, mind you, I did not put the songs in them. That was already in the crystals. But I did find out if we cut them in certain shapes, we can change the tune, change the sound, and make our own little orchestras. Now, I do have to say, generally, we Harpies, we have good hearing for pitches and sounds, and much of our communication happens through kind of sounds that non-Harpies have a harder time interpreting. So music might also be experienced a little different to us. It is a very vital part of our culture. There's hardly a Harpy who does not know how to use their singing voice, and we have quite a few around here who play several instruments. I myself am a big fan of my banjo.
Would you care for a demonstration?
Of my banjo?
Yeah, I would be most honored if you were to show us a couple of songs and your skills.
You haven't even finished the sentence, and they've like hopped over to the other side of the room and picked up like an old, very experienced looking banjo. And as they pick it up, they like start tuning the strings and pluck them a few times, and they then like hold it up. All right then. Oh, I have to say, been a while since someone came over to my place and asked me to play banjo. All right, 3, 2, and they start playing the tunes, which echo out of the dwelling, and maybe it can be heard in the distance as our camera moves over back to the place where Delphine and Rain are currently. Rain, as your telepathic link with Dythun has fizzled away at this point, you are here in the room with Delphine, who's still sleeping. Is there anything you would like to do at this point?
I grab that pitcher of water and bring it next to, maybe there's a night table next to Delphine's bed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit next to the bed on the floor. So like I'm sort of head level with the mattress. Put the pitcher down and using shape water, I'm just going to like animate some of it. And you know the white noise you sometimes put on at that rushing water? I'm going to animate the water like a little wheel near her head so it's floating, creating this sound. Just gonna look at her. If thoughts are worth a copper, I wonder what your dreams are worth. Are you really so tired? I kind of say to sleeping Delphine, not expecting any sort of answer.
So you will just hear like a mumbled, well, need to get that sleep as long as I can get it.
The night is still young.
And then just rolling over, like opening one eye really slightly, like. Well, anything in mind?
The other two went for a walk. We could do the same.
Then there's like a long pause. Like, yeah, okay. We could do this.
If you don't want to, I mean.
Promise me it's not too long. We did like a very long walk today already.
That is true. I will put the water back into the pitcher. Your call. I just didn't want you to wake up and find yourself alone. But if you know I won't going for a walk, then it's a little different.
Oh, well. Let's go for the walk. God damn it.
Okay, if you insist.
So, Delphine,
Yes.
while you do probably still feel on like a mental level exhausted from the day, you do notice like you haven't slept for that long here, but your feet are no longer hurting. Any kind of sore muscles you had, they are relaxed, but any kind of exhaustion that you feel is like mostly more a mental exhaustion, while physically you actually feel surprisingly restored after this nap.
Yep. That's good.
All right. So the two of you leave the building.
Yes.
Rain does opens the door.
You open the door, and as you go out, you see that there's one more guard in front of the building. And also this guard, as they start noticing you walk away, they start following just a few feet away from you, keeping an eye on the two of you.
Rain will have brought her backpack with her.
Backpack with you? Perfect.
Yep.
Backpack with you. And is there any specific kind of place you would like to take a walk to? Is there any kind of specific kind of setting you're looking for?
The sun has set or it's sunset now, past dusk?
Yes. No, at this point, it's like past dusk. Like it's almost dark. You can see the stars above you. You can still hear some kind of singing in the distance.
I kind of look at Delphine and also turn around to our guard, like, so what's flying like?
It's pretty cool.
I've only ever
Oh,
experienced
that's so
fog.
specific.
I mean, has someone ever asked you what walking is like?
You literally know what walking is since you're walking behind us.
Yep. That was not. And they just stumble over the words and not continue speaking.
Like, with those wings of yours, can you do cool tricks and tumbles and flips in the sky?
A few.
I'll turn around and literally like if sit down. Well then,
Excuse me.
I've never flown. I've never really seen the wonders that, and I point at their wings, those can do. I'm
Ma'am,
not going
I'm-
anywhere as I pat the ground next to me.
ma'am, I've been tasked guarding you, not entertain you.
But I would sort of, oh, come on, just a little spin.
Give me a persuasion check, Rain.
Total 20.
Nice. He like looks over his shoulders, just making sure that there's no one else seeing him, and he then like unfurls his wings and he like flaps them a few times, so he takes off, and then just a few feet above the ground, he like does a quick back roll while flying, and then lands down again, folds his wings back up.
That was amazing.
Ta-da!
I look over at Delphine.
I'm rather confused about this.
Well,
Like looking towards Rain and back to the Harpy. Like, yeah.
well, someone once told me that flying through the sky is akin to swimming through water in deep water, and I never really saw the difference.
I never swam in deep water.
Well, if you ever find me in such water, I would happily do a demonstration for you.
Okay.
I stand back and resume walking, but this time Delphine hears in her mind. Is everything all right with you?
Yeah, but this waiting is not my thing, to be fair.
What is your thing then?
You know, like doing stuff, like not just walking around and hoping that something happens. Also, tell me, did you just wanted to get our guard off of us? Like distract him with something?
Oh, I would have employed much more creative methods than that if that were the case.
Show me.
Turn on to the guard. Do it again, do it again.
Why were you just looking at each other?
And I gesture to like Delphine, like, I mean, how could I not?
Um, he looks at you, and he just like really quick does like another one of these backflips.
Gust of wind.
Okay. Hey, you can push things and people away with it, right?
I'm trying to make it pop up in the thing so you can get a description of it.
Gustus per. Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Ooh. Strength saving throw.
Well, I don't strength savings on the list, but I want to do it in a way that sort of increases their speed. I don't want to do this in an antagonistic, painful way, but I really want them to like go for a harder, longer ride than they anticipated.
As if a gust of wind caught their wings.
Yeah,
Okay.
for up to a minute.
Strength saving throws. All right. That's a total of 17.
That makes it.
Ooh.
And as they do their backflip, and as they go, you like poof, you summon your gust of wind, and they are taken by surprise by it. You see them not finish their like backflip in the air. They halfway through, they have to abort the movement, use their wings to push a bit against the breeze of air, and then they land back on their feet. And for a moment, they're still confused about what's happening, but then they immediately like point their spear at you, like, none of that trickery. All right, we're all here to just have a good time, okay?
Yes. I was expecting something more impressive and grand.
They just then just poke their spear towards you, gesturing you to like move on, whatever you want to do.
Well, resume walking.
Is there any place where we could like swim for around, clean ourselves, you know?
There's a little pool close to a waterfall. I can show you there.
Yeah, sure.
And also this guard, just like the other half of the party, had a guard that took the lead at one point. Then at this point, your guard is also taking a bit of the lead. And where Dythun and Rebus were led further into the village, the two of you are led further out of the village to a place where you can soon then hear the sound of a rushing waterfall that comes out of one of the mountains surrounding this valley. And the water here is just as clear as it is everywhere in this valley. And the waterfall rushes into this pool at the foot of the waterfall, a pool that is surrounded again by this viridian green moss with little colored flowers in it. And underneath the surface of the water of the pool, which is deep enough to take a good dive in, but like you could completely submerge your body in there and dive a little bit. But you can also see underneath the surface, in the depth at the bottom of the pool, you see some of the glowing crystals that you've also seen earlier in the valley. And the guard is just standing there. There's the pool.
I keep my eyes locked on the guard as I start taking off my clothes.
He just, turns around. Just turns around back towards you.
Look over at Delphine and giggle.
Oh well. So I suppose if you don't wanna watch us taking a bath, this might not be the best place for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna find a spot where I can keep an eye on you, but not in that way, but can also just keep an eye on you. Okay. And then he just wanders off, and like he goes on a bit of there's like a little path that leads up to a ledge, and there's a bit of bushes and trees there. And like he has a position of looking down on you, and you know he's not making a secret out of it that he's up there, but he's just like at this point just still keeps his back towards you, kind of torn on what he's supposed to do in this situation.
Perfect.
Confusing a guard. Check.
Being confusing overall. Check.
Allow me to say, this had very Matthew Mercer energy of like flustered guard that is just like, no, I don't mean it that way. I'm just gonna go. Okay, bye.
Thank you. So the two of you get ready to take a bath, take a bit of a swim.
Yes.
Rain is in her skippy. She's not like birthday suit.
Yeah. If you go into the water, you notice that it is cool but not too cold. like especially Delphine, you would know how especially the ocean like can sometimes just be extremely cold. And of course, Rain, you are also all too familiar with how cold water can get. But this is a cool but gentle temperature to it. And you do notice that similar to drinking this kind of water, you notice with the water just over your skin, it feels almost cleansing, as if whatever kind of dirt is in your pores or might still be in some kind of open wounds or something is just being filtered out of you as you just swim in this water.
And you said that there were crystals at the bottom.
At the bottom, yes.
Can I go take a look at them?
Absolutely. You can like quick dive. It's like, yeah, you basically just dive underwater, get down there, and with one stroke, you're in reach of the crystals.
Are they just like quartz crystals? Are they sapphire?
Very sapphire-esque, yeah.
Gonna try to chip a small one off.
Right. Chipping off a crystal. Can you give me an athletics check for that?
I know.
And you're underwater.
No,
I mean,
underwater's
it
not
wouldn't
the
be
issue.
Yeah, the water's not the issue.
Athletics, you said?
Yes.
It's a total 12.
You try and look for a place of trying to get the crystal, and you can just breathe underwater, right?
Yep.
Breathing is no issue for you. You touch around and you can't really find a spot to break one off, but there's like a little chip of it that's stuck between some pebbles on the bottom that you like can pull out. You have a little bit of a chipped piece of magical sapphire.
Nice. I'll pocket it. I'll grab it and swim it over to Delphine.
Right.
Just taking a dive in the water, trying to get a little bit of the dirt from the day off, everything.
You actually
So
do
relaxing.
notice. You do notice that any kind of dirt and dust that was in your hair, as you wash it out with the water, the moment that like the dirt and dust comes into the water, it just dissolves and vanishes. The water is kind of cleaning itself, and no remains of any kind of dirt or something remain in the water that you're in.
They will need something like this in Charn.
Most definitely. What a prime relaxation business that would make. Speaking of Sharn, how will you face your family again?
No clue yet. Also, there's still the question when we will even arrive back. So that's the thing.
And you said that what it is you do is you don't wait and you just kind of go for action. But you are still doing on behalf of your family, despite some sordid past you'd not like to get into?
Well, it's complicated, I guess.
I wouldn't know.
So it's very complicated. Is it okay if I tell you at some later point? Or do you really insist on knowing?
I do, but I would rather it come from you without any tricks.
You know what we do to children that are not behaving well?
Enlighten me.
I will just take her ear and like what is it?
Pull the earlobe?
Yeah, no, pull her ear a bit. That it's just slightly hurts, not that much, just slightly.
Rain has,
Like
as a
itch.
triton, Rain has these long fins. They are kind of ribbed and very long and very thin. I
Be
will say
careful.
at this point, Rain lets out a very uncharacteristic mini shriek, and I will misty step.
Out of the water?
30 feet above.
Up in the air.
Intention to cannonball into her.
You, like, Delphine, you pull this fish-like earlobe or ear of her, and you just, indeed, for the first time, you hear this kind of sound coming out of Rain, and then there's like poof, and she misty steps up into the air. The guard who's up on watch, like, immediately turns around, like, what? And for a moment, sees Rain hovering up in the air. And you want to cannonball back down into the water?
At Delphine, basically.
You just look up the feet and you just see Rain falling back on top of you, splashing into the water spraying all out of the pool, just crashing into you.
Ow. Do I take bludgeoning damage from that?
Could both of you give me either an athletics or acrobatics check?
I will gladly do athletics.
I have a
Acrobatics.
question. How deep is this? Like, is Rain going to be okay, or is she going to like hit the bottom of the pool?
She's fine. She's going to not have to worry that she's going to hit the bottom.
9 total. I rolled
9 total athletics.
I have like 13 in acrobatics.
All right. As you just crash into each other, both of you not capable enough to like soften the impact or get out of the way. Both of you take from this collision, as playful as it might have been, both of you take 5 points of bludgeoning damage.
Taken.
And once everything settles down, Rain, you're like bobbing in the water in front of Delphine, and the guard just shouts down from his position, like, what's happening down there?
Just shouting back, nothing much, just a broken rib.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
Just splash at Delphine.
Fuck.
Just for my own interest, who of you has the sending stone on him? I think the sending stone was still in the backpack of Rain, or Dythun
I
has it,
received
right?
a lovely massage in exchange for that.
Correct, and
Yeah.
Dythun
I
still.
would never forget what
It
I
cost
had.
you.
How many hoops Dythun had to jump through to get the sending stone?
Just
So
jump.
Dythun definitely has that.
Especially after those kind of deeds, which is a good way after the Rain Cannonball happened and things are a little bit settling down there. On another part of the village, Ragi has just finished his playing of his banjo, of their banjo, and I'm just quickly gonna check how well that went. Oh boy, you, Dythun and Rebus, you've been witness to the kind of musician who maybe in their past days was very good at an instrument. You do know that they know how the instrument works. They know how to pull the strings. They generally understand the concept of it. And there might have been in one gone by day, there might have been some skill in their talents to do it. Those days have gone by. And Ragi enthusiastically and so happy that someone asked them to play the banjo again. It was just for like 10 minutes lost in just playing some kind of wild song that was way too fast for their, well, kind of rusted talents. And they did not take any kind of hint of stopping. They were just lost in the moment of having a chance to play in front of an audience. And after about 10 minutes, the final tone is played. And Ragi, who has been singing along, and you have to say, Ragi does have quite a singing voice. It's not per se trained, but there's a certain amount of natural talent in the singing voice. So the singing was not the problem. It was just that it didn't really harmonize with the very chaotic banjo playing. And after 10 minutes, they just stop, exhale. How'd you like it?
Bravo.
Deception check.
That was unlike anything I've ever heard before. That was so interesting and so beautiful. Thank you so much for showing us something so profound and personal to you. I feel so honored to have been part of this demonstration. I'm so excited. Thank you so much.
You flatter me. I have to say, I haven't played this instrument in many years, and I was a bit nervous at the beginning. Maybe you noticed my talents were a bit shaky, but I think after a while I caught myself, and you never quite unlearn playing such an instrument. So I'm glad to hear that you did enjoy it. But I am so sorry. I am wasting your time with my nostalgia about my musical instrument, and you came here for proper answers. This is so rude of me.
This was also important to me. I'm very happy that you showed us. But yes, I have many other things I would love to learn about. And of course, I guess we can exchange one answer for one answer. So let me know if I may help somehow.
That is a fantastic idea. An answer for an answer. You ask a question, I give an answer, then I ask a question, and you give an answer.
I feel like that's a fair arrangement. I am sorry I don't really think there's too much else I can offer this community. To be fair, I am quite taken aback by how beautiful this place is and how alive it feels, and how obviously all of you are very happy and healthy, and I don't think there's anything we could bring from the outside that you would need here or want within your beautiful walls. But one thing I can offer is knowledge in perhaps sciences, engineering. I know a little bit of that, part of it because of my programming, part of it because of my upbringing. So I'll be happy to have anything to offer at all.
Well, perfect. And they put away their instrument, get their books and scrolls. Dythun, as you're seeing an enthusiastic Rebus conversing with an enthusiastic Ragi, you do notice from wherever you have put the sending stone, you do notice a bit of a warmth coming from it and a gentle vibration.
I think he would probably kind of like take it out and hold it within his palm to like it can fit in his palm, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, just kind of like hold it in his palm and look at it.
So you gently pull it out. You hold it in your palm, and you see that there's a bit of a warmth to it, indeed a vibration coming from it, and there's also a very gentle glow on it, like a pulsing glow.
Just like taps it a little bit.
Right? As you tap it with your other hand, you suddenly hear in your head, you hear a voice in your head, and coming with that voice in your head is
Bravik?
there
Breivik.
is it was not just the name. I actually had a bit of a note I had for it. You hear the familiar voice of Bravik in your head, and hear, is there anything you can already report? We're anxious for information. And you get an understanding of that you can respond to this message.
Timeline-wise, we've been here 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
Ish. Okay. Dythun would definitely wait a solid 2 minutes,
Leave it on red.
just thinking about how he wants to respond because he's not entirely sure. And then eventually probably respond, well, they haven't attacked on sight, leading us around through their camp a little and letting us rest here. I'm trying to gather as much information as possible so I don't send you anything unuseful. He doesn't know this. He's just thinking all this. I know there's a word limit. He does not.
At a certain point, you do notice that the stone, at one point, the glow stops and the vibrating also stops, and it's just a lifeless stone.
So I don't want to send anything. Oh well, puts it back in his pocket.
Hello? Hi. Can you hear? Is it on your side or my side?
Can you hear me now?
Are you? Is it better now?
Dythun, could you also quickly give me a sleight of hand check, please?
I'm honestly not sure if he would be hiding it.
All right.
He doesn't want to be super obvious about it. He kind of held it in his palm so it wasn't openly visible he was what he was holding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'd probably hold it there for a minute and he'd just put it back in his pocket, but he's not being stealth, he's obscuring what he's holding, but he's not hiding he's holding something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, he's holding it,
about
but
it.
Yeah. I mean, I can roll sleight of hand if you think. I just don't want you to think he's openly being super secretive about it.
No, you're a good point. I made an assumption, but if you're saying you're not being sneaky or stealthy about it, then you don't need to roll. You're just being casual about it.
If he was in the throne room, yes.
Yeah.
He's not too worried about it here.
Got you.
Since it's not a open speaker kind of thing.
Gotcha. And you would also, what would maybe also give you an impression that it's safe to do it here is that just observing Ragi and Rebus going up about it, they're both really just into their own conversation. And you're not even sure if any of them would notice that you were fiddling with what in your palm almost looks like a pebble. And so you just stow it back away. And in the meantime, Ragi had already put some scrolls and books out on a table, and he's just telling a bit about the haunting song and the village that they built. He actually pulls out a bit of maps of original plans for the village, and he's just enthusiastically showing all of it to Rebus and answering any kind of questions that Rebus has about their culture. Rebus, is there anything specific that you would like to learn about these people? Rebus?
Rebus?
Can you repeat the last part? I don't know why it cut, and I was like trying to discern what you were saying, but
No worries. I asked,
I missed the last.
the Ragi is like telling you all kinds of stuff about the place, but is there anything specific that Rebus would ask to learn about these people?
Mm.
Well, I must admit, I was certainly interested in your stories because I feel like every group of organics and any group of any rational, conscious creatures, whether it's a civilization or a culture or a town or a small family, has a lot of interesting information and a good reflection of who they are and what they stand for and what they believe, wrapped up in stories. And so I felt like perhaps if I'm able to listen or take part in some of your stories, I might be able to understand you a bit better.
Stories it is. And he pulls out a few scrolls and books, and you see that they are written in this strange looking alphabet, very sharp and angular letters. And strangely enough, while you don't fully comprehend them, there's a bit of a familiarity to the script. You get the feeling that you've seen these before. And as Ragi is showing you these, he mentions, well, I'm sorry, but I have to confront you with some very old and he hasn't finished the word, and you like, not by yourself, but just noticing that your mouth speaks it, but you didn't want the word to come out. The word says Dakani, and he just finishes the words of Dakani. Yes, indeed. Oh, you're quite a scholar.
I do not mean to deceive you. I am quite astonished myself. Somehow I knew which word you were going to say. This seems familiar to me. Is it possible I've heard this story before or seen these particular scrolls?
Were you built to be a historian, Warforged? Because Dakani script is, well, a remnant of the Dakani Empire, and last we heard of them was about 5,000 years ago. Yes, Dythun.
I see.
Does Dythun know what that word means?
Make a history check with advantage, since you're from Droaam. Or at least had a lot of stuff in Droaam.
All right, so history, that's a 13 minus 1, that's a 12.
Well, you would note the Dakani Empire, you do know it was once a continent-spanning goblinoid empire. And there are still significant parts of the continent of Corvair where you can find old Dakani ruins, and there are still groups of goblinoids who strive to rebirth the glory of the Dakani Empire. You do know that there are many architectural and technological principles that date back all the way back to the Dakani Empire. But as is the fate of many great empires, sooner or later, it succumbs under its own weight and is now a thing of the far past.
Good to know.
And as you recall that, Dythun, you again feel the vibrating feeling of the sending stone.
Are they still like engrossed in their own kind of
Yep.
conversation?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dythun's gonna walk over to their like alchemy supplies, kind of like looking over them, and like pull out the stone,
All right.
just to kind of
Like-
like get some distance.
Quickly tap it, and
Yeah,
you
like-
hear
Tap it again. Like, is this how this works? What do I do?
you tap it, you hear Bravik's voice in your head again. I expect a better report by dawn.
Is that the whole message?
That's the whole message, yeah.
They're in the middle of the caves. How do they know when dawn is?
It's like, right. Well, I'll do my best to gather as much information as I can in that time. I do still need to rest, however. Seeing as we're allowed to walk around right now, I'll see what just like
And the stone
rambles
goes
on,
dim.
and it goes dim, it like takes him a second. Oh, okay.
I would also, at this point, Rebus and Dythun, and also Delphine and Rain. Could you all give me a round of perception checks, please?
Bad. It's an 8.
Mm.
8 for Dythun, which makes sense. You were caught up in your sending
11.
stone. 11 will also make sense. You're finding out that you can read or recognize a certain ancient script. Rain?
14 total.
14 total. And Delphine, you're still muted.
12.
12.
Whoops.
All right.
I got the highest one. It's impossible. I suck at this.
So while in Ragi's home, Rebus, you're marveled at the fact that you recognize this ancient script and you're caught up in the moment. Dythun, you as well are still figuring out how to deal with this sending stone thing and figure out why Bravik is getting so anxious. On the other end of the village, Delphine and Rain, as you're both still there in the water, whatever you're doing might be a little bit distracted from it, but Rain, you would notice out of the corner of your eye that the guard that's been assigned to you, as much as he's doing a poor job at like guarding you at this point, he at one point like seemed to be triggered by something to look into a different direction, then give you like quickly, like give one final quick glance at the two of you in the pool, and then you just see him take off.
Was that Harpy guard within 30 feet of me before they took off?
Sure.
Telepathic link.
Vroom. Telepathic link.
Now just keep it up.
All right.
It's established. I have a few minutes on this.
And it
Before
doesn't
I
have a
point out
range.
to Delphine is up to 3 miles.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
And it lasts for 3 minutes, but 3 miles nonetheless. I
Gotcha.
poke Delphine and I point at the Harpy now flying away.
At this point, I was just complaining that I will never touch Rain's ears again. And also healing myself, like.
But you have temp hit points.
No, I don't have the temp hit
Oh,
points since I
tried to
didn't
drink
drink
the
the water.
You must have now if you got your tongue underwater.
So, but yeah, looking at that direction.
You look into a direction, and Rain, you still have the telepathic link up with the guard. the telepathic link is just for two-way communication, right? It's just
Correct.
all right. Well, you see them fly off in the distance and eventually get out of sight for you. Not so much because they're so far away, but because there's structures and buildings in the way of a line of sight.
I look to Delphine. It's like, perhaps the time for waiting is now over. Shall we go do something? Find out what that's about? Because that's fairly unusual for someone who clearly had no will to be near us. Well, me, to be fair.
Seems pretty strange, that's clear. Let's follow.
Sounds dandy. And as I'm gathering up my things, knowing the connection doesn't last too long, the Harpy will hear in their mind, "Hello there."
There's a moment of silence. And then there's just this very hesitant, hello?
Is there something exciting going on? Can we help? Is there a party? Is there extra food?
Am I going crazy?
It's a different discussion we can have later. Just don't go burning things.
What?
What is the matter?
There's something happening on the other side of town? How can I still hear you?
The two of us will be heading into town. We don't want to get you in trouble unless it was something serious. I mean, you've been nothing but generous hopes. We'll see you soon. We're right behind you.
No, you should just stay where you are. I'll come and make sure that you're guarded once I've figured this out.
We'll come to you and you can guard us where you are.
No,
You're
because
welcome.
you could also go to a different place, but if you just stay at the pool,
La
I can
la
just
la la la. I keep the connection up for as long as possible, not really responding to their request to stay put.
And as this guard frustratingly wants to telepathically explain to Rain that they should just stay where they are, the two of you get dressed and leave behind the pool as you make your way to whatever is happening. And I think this is a good place to take a quick break for now. So let's take a little break. We're going to be for a 10-minute break. So we'll be back at 20 minutes till whatever time it is yours, where you are. And so refill your water, get some snacks, stretch your legs, and we'll be back in 10 minutes. So stick around. See you soon.
Toodles. Be right back.
That was a nice little break. I hope everyone had a chance to get some drinks, stretch their legs, and pet their pets, or whatever you would like to do. Glad we have you all back. And before we dive right back into the session, just a few casual announcements that we usually do. First of all, thanks for everyone who's watching and chatting along in chat. We're very happy with everyone who spends time with us. We like to play D&D and TTRPGs here, and we like it especially if we have nice people watching along with us. So thank you very much. if you like what you see here and you would like to keep track of what we're doing, why not give us a follow on our social media? We have a Twitter you can follow us on. You can join us on our Discord server, or you can just follow and subscribe here on Twitch. Also, we do have a YouTube channel on which you, next to Twitch, you find our VODs here, which are provided and put up there by our very own Ida over here, who's playing Rain, also providing us with some fun little timestamps on them. And on our YouTube channel, we are pretty close of hitting that 100 subscriber mark there. We're at 97 right now, which means we need 3 more subscribers to get to 100. And if you think, hey, I want to catch up with what they have done so far in the Convergence Manifesto, I want to look at all the silly things they say or all the fun they had, head over to our YouTube channel. And if you would give us a subscription there, we would be very honored as well. After all, however, we're also very happy if you're just watching along with us. So thanks again for just watching along with us.
Austin, hypothetically, if you could have your own cat ears, would you prefer like the ones with the tufts of hair coming out, like Maine Coons, like rounded ones, like Scottish folds? Just no reason at all why I bring this up. But
No
what would
reason
your
at all.
ideal cat ears be for your head?
Let's see. I would assume like the triangular ones, little hair coming out.
Okay, adorable. Yes.
You know, because that's, you know, then it could halfway count as a Dythun cosplay. That's my justification for that.
Yes.
Okay.
For no reason whatsoever,
Beautiful.
obviously.
What a interesting hypothetical question.
No, just doesn't everyone think about like what their favorite cat ears are, like which ones they would get, and which style that suit them better? You know.
Once per week on average.
I thought
and
everyone did this.
Yeah, and I changed my mind every month about it, so it's pretty normal. So
It's a struggle.
from cat ears, we continue to feathered beings, namely the Harpies in this village, where our adventurers currently are. And something seems to have drawn the attention of at least the guard assigned to Delphine and Rain, who decided to at least go into the direction of whatever this guard has seen. Meanwhile, Dythun and Rebus, you're still in Ragi's home. And Rebus, you have still the books with this strange script that you somehow recognize in front of you. And Ragi telling you a bit about the long past of some of the first Harpy flights, that some of these flights claim that they go all the way back to the Dakani Empire and were established there. While there might still be some confusion about what you're just recognizing still be in your head, Rebus. What's going on with you at the moment, Rebus?
Well, I'm a bit confused. I'm sorry. Roggy, I understand, Lorekeeper, that you don't have any reason to know this or to care, but do you think there would be, what do you think would be the most plausible reason why I might know about the Dakani Empire? Not just the Dakani Empire itself, but the script. I don't know with what purpose I was constructed. I don't know if I was a historian or forged, but I don't think many of my kind were built for that purpose. So if you had a more possible guess, where does someone find information about this?
It is a fascinating thing that you put out there. If I have to say, I don't know much about the Warforged in themselves. I've heard about them, I've tried to gather some information, but quite frankly, I don't leave this valley too much. But from what I have gathered, most of your kind were created, well, quite literally forged for the sake of war. Though I don't want to exclude the possibility that you might have been created for something else. And if you were given the capability, or at least some kind of understanding of Dakani language, it must have been to decipher, read older scripture, older texts, older documents. So there must have been some kind of, at least academic capability in you.
I agree. It seems the most likely explanation.
DM, what is Dakani? Like, can Rebus read it? Like, actually read it, or just kind of recognize, like, oh, I recognize the alphabet, but maybe the words are not quite, like, oh, something is written in Latin alphabet, and so I could read it, but I don't know what it means. Or is it more like I read a similar language, and this is an older version of it? Like, is there any language family that this is
It's more like that you would
part of?
it's more like that you would know what Japanese looks like, and you might recognize a few characters, but you're not capable of reading it. You can identify by the script that this is Japanese, but you can't really read what it says. So in that regard, you can recognize by the script, like, oh, these are Dakani characters, this is letters. You might recognize a few of them, but not enough to really read this.
Except that Dakani might not be as common or current as Japanese.
It is absolutely a dead language. There are maybe only there's
Yeah.
not any large communities who would use that as an actual living language.
So it would be like me recognizing, like, oh, this is this kind of cuneiform language from this region, without like really knowing why I have that information.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Well, I would still very much want to listen to your stories, as I said. I'm sorry I interrupted you. I just did not expect to have this knowledge. It happens surprisingly often, but I guess that is normal when you have some kind of amnesia. You don't really expect what is, kept in there. So please, by all means, continue. I would love to hear more about your stories.
This was no interruption. This was a completely understandable little in-between thing. And I'm sure there is nothing else that will further interrupt. And at that point, you hear the bell ringing at their entrance. And you just immediately see this frown appearing on Ragi's face. Like, he walks over to the entrance, leans out, and you can just hear him like shout downwards, "What?" And you hear someone else shouting up, "The guests, I need to check on them." And Draghi turns to the both of you, waves you over, gesturing that you might just want to.
Yeah.
If you come over and there's lean out, you see the guard that let you here is down at the rope ladder, sees you looking up. All right. Good. And but if both of you are looking out, you also see that next to this guard, there's like two other leather armor clad harpies now. And as the three of them see that you're still here, all three of them like take off and fly off out of the village. Dythun.
Having like a general sense of like what battle readiness looks like, do I get an idea they're searching for something like they kind of have like a different tone to them than they had earlier when we were just walking around?
You would definitely recognize
Are in
battle ready.
danger.
You would definitely recognize battle ready behavior, and these guards are showing battle ready behavior.
I'm gonna try to track from up here, like where they're headed.
From a glance, like just following the line that they're flying over, it's towards the direction from which you originally entered the village. And as these two guards fly off, you see that just a few moments later, coming from another corner and now landing next to the guard that brought you here, is a very slender build female harpy landing next to that guard, and she's accompanied by a few other soldier harpies. This harpy has fairly long hair in this long ponytail that she keeps tight with these iron circlets in there, and she has a bow and quiver on her back, and you also see that on her throat you see that there's this kind of very wide burn mark that seems fairly well healed but not completely healed at this point. And she quickly looks at the other guards and then says, looks at them, looks up at the two of you, and then she says, "So I see our guests are still here. That's two of them. We still need to account for the other two." And there's another harpy now landing down next to her. And Dythun and Rebus, you recognize this other harpy as the other guard that was in front of your house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's landing there. And he looks a bit distressed at this point, has a bit of a confused look. And he stands up to the female harpy. "Captain, I've came over to check on the situation. I saw some movements at the battle lines." And then she turns to him. "Where are the other guests?" "They are over at the pool." "Not with you?" "I came over because I saw something." And Delphine and Rain, you come at this point, you have already entered back into the village, just following the rough direction in which you saw the guard flying. And eventually you hear a bit of a ruckus as you come past some of the stills and the buildings that are here. And you see in front of this high-placed dwelling on these four long stills, you see a group of harpies, and you also see your guard in between there, who's now talking to a bit frustrated-looking female harpy that's looking at him.
If we're within 30 feet again, I'll are we? You tell me.
Yeah. You are.
Reestablished. Thought you could lose us, did you?
And as you do that, like in the middle of his explanation towards the female harpy, you can just, all of you can hear him say out loud, "Ah!" just gasping. And the
Dythun immediately thinks, "Oh, Rain's doing her mind thing again."
No, she's terrifying this poor guard. What did we think when leaving her alone?
I
and
wasn't alone.
as you've established a mind link with him, Rain. Is there anything else you would like to do?
Oh, this looks exciting. What's going on?
He just, like, you see him wildly look around, and then he notices you and Delphine approaching. "Captain, there they are. I brought them with me. Yeah, yes, I brought them with me.
Yes, he brought us with him. But telepathically, you're welcome. You owe me.
you just see this a little bit of nervous sweat on his forehead, and
So
I-
ominous every time.
I'm waiting your commands, Captain.
Captain, I say out loud.
And she looks at you. "Yes, Captain Piranha.
Captain
I see
Piranha.
that the visitors here are still here in the village. That's exactly where you should be staying. The rest of you," and she gestures at the guards. You come with me." And then she points at the guard that was watching Delphine and Rain. "Yeah, you also come with me. You stay here with them. And she delegates another guard to stay with you.
Well, your people and Mino have been such gracious hosts. I do believe good visitors pitch in where they can. Is there something we could assist with?
Nothing that would make your presence here more suspicious. And she leaves it at that, and there's just the guards that she pointed at to come with her. She and all of those spread their wings, and they start flying off.
I refresh that connection before our respective guard flies off. And I'll hear in the back of the mind, keep me in the loop, will you?
Okay.
Poor
Not
And-
shady at all.
At this point, as these guards fly off, you hear from this dwelling up on the stilts. You hear a voice. You hear Ragi saying as he's leaning out, "Oh boy, nightly commotion." And as you hear the voice from top, you can look up, and you can also see Dythun and Rebus up there in the building.
Oh, hello.
Dythun's actually gonna turn around and walk back in the building
Mm-hmm.
and pull out the sending stone again and like
Mm-hmm.
tap it, like see if he can get it to like. How do I start this? Like, can I initiate this from my end? Like, how does
Can
this
you
work?
can you give me a quick Arcana check, please?
Does Rebus know how to use a
That's-
sending stone?
Okay, Dythun's very lucky because that's a natural 20 minus 1. 19.
I
19.
do recall when Dythun went through the crazy steps to get the sending stone, I did slip in as a player, and Rain explains how to use this.
Yeah, but how much
Which
of
is-
that like registered?
That's up to your
Which-
roll.
Which is
Exactly.
what Dythun recalls at this point, recalling also the hoops he had to go through to get it, but also the explanation that was given.
The trauma
And-
must have like buried it.
Exactly.
And you
repressed
do
memories.
you do after a few tries notice that if you just, again, press it at a certain spot, you do notice that there's a bit of a faint vibration, a faint glow coming from it, and that you can start sending your message with it.
He'll say, I'm not sure if it's you or your people, but there's some kind of commotion that's gotten the guards' attention. Be careful. He's kind of like noticing like there's a cutoff, but doesn't know quite where it is yet, so I'm not sure how much of that got through.
Gotcha. You wait a few moments and then you hear Bravik's voice in your head. Some of us are testing the waters. How many are headed our way?
It's the thing, like,
Like
do
once a day
I or
sending stone, or is
Dythun
it-
know like it has so many uses a day, or because this is what the third time now?
Yeah, you wouldn't know that you still have some uses in it.
Okay, so he'll send another message. How many did Dythun see?
At least 4.
Dythun will say there's 4 taking the lead. Oh, hold on. Yeah. There's 4 taking the lead. 5 more taking more advantageous positions. Be very cautious.
Give me a deception check with advantage, because through this way of communication, they can't read your body language while you're telling this, so that works in your advantage.
This is deception.
Deception.
Let's see, that's 15.
15 total. You get one more response from Bravik. Interesting. I'll think we sent something special their way. And then there's that's the end of the message.
Break.
Interesting.
Oh, hello there.
Did you hear from the outside, from my character, like, has anyone a plan what's going on here?
I might have a little bird dropping information every now and then for the next few minutes at least.
Can Dythun hear that?
I say it like in a
stepping
normal
in.
speaking voice. I don't know how loud Delphine like exclaimed this.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Delphine was pretty voicey.
Yeah, but Dythun, you've also like stepped back into the
yeah,
house,
that's what I'm
so
like.
not really clearly audible for you.
Okay.
But if, for example, Rebus, if you're still close to the entrance, you can clearly hear what Rain is saying at the bottom of the rope ladder.
Yes, I am leaning down now that like suddenly some of my my senses are going off and like my little eye pupils are kind of glitching as I am trying to like get out of the learning mood where I was paying attention to Ragi and just like pay attention for a second. And so I lean over, I listen to what Delphine and Rain have to say. I try to survey from the top of the building. Do I see imminent danger, like actually a problem? Because I don't know what Dythun knows, so like, can I gather that like we need to be at the ready and this might be dangerous? Or
Give me a perception check. So I can see, depending on the result, what you can gather from
18.
18. So you're still like transitioning from your learning mood, from like finding out new things now to guardian, protective, trying to gauge the area and dangers around you. And you look into the direction that the harpies went. And I mean, it's getting quite dark and it's harder to see anything in the distance, but you do hear faintly in the distance. What you do notice is that the singing of the harpies that you heard faintly in the background, that has stopped now. And you can only see hear faintly in the direction where the harpies went. You hear a very distant roar, something loud that's echoing towards you, but it's so far away that you only like hear the last parts of the echo of it. But it reminds you of some kind of distant roar.
I
go ahead.
will I will just gesture to Rain and Delphine to wait a second and turn to Ragi and say, I believe we might be in danger. I don't know how bad it is, but is there any way we can help? Is there anything we can do?
Oh, well, if you think we're in danger, we have excellent guardians. We have the aerial advantage, but if you have any kind of competences in combat, well, I'm sure that our frontline fighters might be happy with any kind of aid you can offer them.
I will nod and grab Dythun and nudge him towards the staircase or the ladder.
Yeah.
And say we have to help and make my way down to where
Make 'em away.
Delphine and Ray are.
I'm away.
Because I don't believe I brought my glaive with me, so I should go pick up my weapon.
All right. Delphine, while your allies are coming down the rope ladder.
So since this is taking like a little bit too long for me, like this checking back, if there's something going on, people are arranging themselves. I'm already making my way towards the entrance because of like, this frustration is too much.
All right. And Rain, was there anything you wanted to do?
I'll if Delphine is starting to move, I'll move in that direction. But I will talk to our Harpy guard, and I will just kind of be like, so when I was in the mountains, there was this goblin who, I appreciate a bit of respect and reverence towards, well, me and one of our goblinoid host was not very friendly and tried to stab me while I was sleeping. His name is Harut. He's a not a very talented scout. If you could stab him in the face a few times for me, that'd be great. He travels in the company of detail.
As you just telepathically give that forward, you eventually get a response from your mind-linked guard, and he says, I'll make sure to ask my enemies for their name. But we're seeing we're at the entrance to the tunnels, and we see there are traces here, tracks. Must have been scouts, and there must have been. We're currently looking closer to the, and then the connection drops.
As I'm walking behind Delphine, I just kind of grab the back of her collar and just kind of pull as I stop for a second. There's something very bad happening. As the connection was lost I had with that guard of ours. I didn't even ask their name. It's going to be the next question. I should start with that more often.
At this point, also Dythun and Rebus, you're down at the bottom of the rope ladder. Or was there anything you would like to do, Dythun?
I would say before Dythun came down, like kind of while that conversation was happening, he'd like hold the shoulder of Ragi, say, I appreciate your hospitality and the exchange of interesting information. I have a question for you. I see you
Yes.
dabble in alchemy and mixing things. You ever tried brewing alcohol?
Burning alcohol. I did try my hand at that, yes. Some of the fruits we grow are very suitable for the production of alcohol. Mind you, I'd never really succeeded in making a good flavor, but I am a bit confused. Why ask this question now, dear visitor?
Bit of a hobby of mine. Maybe next time I'll show you a thing or two and see what we can make with these fruits of yours. And just kind of like pat them on the back and climb down the ladder.
He looks happy and confused at you as you climb down the ladder. And you're at the bottom, all of your ground now. Delphine was trying to dash away, but was stopped by rain. Is there anything the four of you would like to do at this point?
I would have been running towards where my glaive is. So like I would just have told them like we need to help and like just go get my weapon to get to the site as quickly as possible.
All right. Yeah, you could dash back to the dwelling that was assigned to you to go pick up your glaive. While Rebus is getting that, anything else you would like to do?
I only stopped Delphine to just tell her like a bit of like, this is serious, and then resume running with her. Are there any Harpy guards standing in the village, or are they kind of all en masse going in that direction?
You see, what you would notice is that in regular intervals in the village, there are just these elevated platforms, almost like indeed like these crow's nests, similar to what you have like on a ship. And on these platforms, you see other Harpy guards currently taking up position. Most of them now equipped with bows, to having their gaze trained towards where the other guards flew up to. And they're just really focused, making sure that whatever kind of danger might be approaching, that they spot it first. But you would also see that while you're down here and waiting for Rebus to come back with the glaive, there's another 4 or 5 Harpies flying over towards that direction.
Delphine, were we waiting? I thought we were running.
Oh, you were already running?
We're running.
No, we're
Oh, yeah,
running.
I
Okay.
think those two were like running ahead.
Yeah, no, we're running.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd like to have been running, please.
I would say if Rebus went in a different direction to get their glaive. Hold on. Dythun would have followed Rebus
Gotcha. All right.
after
So
like a
we
little
have
hesitation.
gotcha. So we have Delphine and Rain already running off, and we have Dythun and Rebus picking up Rebus's weapons to get ready. So let me then.
And anybody else's, I guess. I don't know if people have their weapons on them.
Oh,
You know.
Dythun for sure does. I don't like Dythun sleeps in his armor. Like
Then you don't get the benefits of a long rest, depending what kind of armor it is.
He's not wearing heavy armor.
Now who does?
Mhm.
well, I think it's like medium armor.
You so while one half of the party is getting their gear and whatever they need, the other half is running off towards where it's happening. And to let me then rephrase what I just mentioned to you, Rain. While you were running in that direction, you would have noticed 4 or 5 more harpies flying over towards the direction. And you're basically at one point you're at like the edges of the village. You come back to these wooden palisades, and you see that there's a few more harpies which are up on the palisades, keeping eyes out.
I will make a connection to the nearest guard I see and said, "Don't panic. The Triton below. I am talking with you."
And you see just this one harpy just like very quickly snap her head towards you, just looking at you.
I had this connection with another of your colleagues. They went ahead. The connection broke, not by my hand. What
And
can
they
you
just-
tell me of the situation? Something dearth is at hand.
You just hear in your head, you should stay inside the village. Dangerous skulking scouts are outside.
The scouting party that was not so pleasant with me consisted of a gnoll, several goblins, hobgoblins, and whatever to Rain's best recollection was actually.
Mm. We found goblinoid tracks. We are on the hunt. This does not concern you, visitor. You do not have to put your mind magics into me.
My hide is very much on the line, and I put my mind magics where I please. Close.
And the harpy just sneers at you and then just takes up her guarding position again. While, as you're near the palisades now, right, basically you have the village behind you and more of the untamed part of the valley in front of you. You actually, as the moment that you close the mind link, you hear in the distance out there, you hear a high-pitched screech, and then you hear a something slashing, and then there's silence again. And the guards on top of the walls are just keeping their eyes trained on the bushes and trees and rocks in front of them.
Look at Delphine. Any ideas?
Yeah, Delphine, any ideas?
Good
Having
question,
shared
next
what my
question.
conversations were and what I gleaned, the little I did.
Yeah, you will just get this response, the fuck, I will stay there and just wait until something happens.
You are going to wait.
She will not listen to you.
So you're not going to wait? You're going to wait?
No, you're not. She's not. Delphine is not waiting.
Perfect.
Delphine is going out on the hunt.
Yes.
Rain joins you.
All right. While you're already
Sounds
just
like fun.
while you go past the palisades, you hear one of the guards up on the palisades shout down to, "It's on your own risk going out there. We have to protect ourselves. We can't protect the visitors as well. Hope you can protect yourself."
Quick mind melt. It was kind of nice here. Believe it or not, perhaps I feel like protecting it just a little bit as well.
Eyebrow curiously raised. No response via the mind link.
I'll keep this one up.
Gotcha.
So I got 3 minutes or 3 minutes or 3 miles.
Exactly. While that is happening, while our brave adventurers here are stepping out into whatever is lurking outside of the village, Rebus, you have gathered your glaive and whatever else you needed from the dwelling, and Dythun is accompanying you. Are the two of you just heading to where Rain and Delphine were going, or is there anything else you would like to do?
No, I'm going there as fast as I can, so I won't really stop for anything.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Dythun's headed straight for the entrance.
Gotcha. You also rush over, and you just cross through the village. It's not a very large village per se. So with a bit of pace, you cross through it again, running past Ragi's dwelling, and also coming to the palisades. And you see, you don't see at this point any sign of your two companions, but you do see one of the guards on top of the palisades turns towards seeing you two, and then also says to you, if you're looking for your fellow visitors, they already went outside. Looks like they like to live dangerously.
Yeah, if we stick around long enough, you'll get used to that. He says as he just runs straight through.
All right. Do you follow Rebus?
Yeah, I didn't really I acknowledged it by looking up but just kept going because I'm too worried that something bad is happening. I don't really know how useful it might be because it sounded by the kind of commotion, I can't hear battle, right?
Mm-hmm. No, you don't hear you
there's
don't
no
hear the
battle
sound.
noises.
Exactly. There's no sound of any kind of skirmish going on at this point.
So something tells me a healer might be more needed than a fighter. I'm just ready to defend myself, but I have a really bad feeling about what might be happening, and so I just need to know to be able to assess the situation and also protect my friends and
Right.
As we're running through there's an obvious entrance to where the village starts and then an entrance to the valley, correct?
Gotcha. Yeah.
As Dythun's running through where the entrance to the village is, can I look around and see he has the feeling somebody's trying to get into the village, not into the valley. He wants to look around is there somebody here? Can he see any of the scouts? He wants to look to see if there's anything close by rather than rushing straight through. He'll probably stop for a second and realize wait a second, I should look here.
So if I understand correctly, you want to make sure that there's no one trying to get into the village while all of you are getting out of the village, that someone is sneaking into the village. Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Can you give me a quick perception check for that, please?
Yes, absolutely. 18.
18. From what you can tell, even if someone would try to get into the village, it's not like all of the guards are heading out of the village. There's still quite an amount of guards up on these elevated platforms that have a great position to see what's coming by air or what tries to sneak in between the different houses. So there's all eyes they have are trained also onto the village itself. Also, at this point, you don't notice anyone trying to quickly scamper into the village or anything.
Okay, perfect.
So while the two of you are also heading out of the village, Delphine and Rain, you already have a bit of a head start over the other half of the party. What's your approach on this as you go outside? How are you tackling this danger that might be around?
So we're headed to the area that we emerged from, which was basically where the valley meets the mountain. Okay, so we know that we emerged from this mountainside rock wall into this open valley. So it's kind of very open.
Yes.
And we see what do we see in front of us as we're running. Actually, maybe it's a better question.
As you're running, what you see in front of you is once you're out of the village, you see again that there's a bit of like hills and rocky ledges, which are covered in moss and trees and plants. A lot of verdant green wildlife here. A lot of good places to hide as well. You see now, especially here in the dark, that you left behind the illumination of the village. Your senses, I think both of you have dark vision, so at least it takes a while for your eyesight to adjust to the lower light vision here, but you can still at least see clear outlines and everything. Though the colors might be starting to fade a little bit at this point. But it's basically a slendering, meandering path that is between these hills and rocky ledges, good elevated positions, and clusters of trees, bushes, green moss, and the sounds of whatever kind of nightly wildlife might be here as well. You hear a little bit of buzzing of insects. You hear some evening or night birds that let out their calls in the night. There's an owl that swoops over you at one point. But that's what you perceive at this point.
As we're running, I would say to Delphine out loud, like, if there are those annoying scouts coming through that entrance we passed, I could obscure their vision, and then we can just pick them out as they wander past something that blocks their vision.
As you say that, Rain.
Yeah.
Does a 17 hit you?
Yeah, it does.
Fuck.
Yeah, all
where's
this
my-
confidence, but like, ouchies.
As you ponder and explain your plan, you hear this whooshing sound and then feel something impacting your shoulder.
From behind me?
From behind you, yeah?
Oh, shit.
From some kind of angle. You're like a bit away from the village at this point, so it's not necessarily that the village is directly behind you, but however you were turned, impacting you from behind is this arrow that just hits you in the shoulder on the back. You take 4 points of piercing damage.
Okay.
And Delphine, you would see as you're like turned towards Rain, you would see that there's this small figure that now darts back behind some trees and scampers off into the darkness.
Quick reaction, like as I see that arrow hit and this creature running away, I will cast fog cloud.
Fog cloud. All right. Fog cloud all around you, or is it?
Yeah, that's a 20-foot radius.
Okay. As you.
Since I don't know how fast they are running and in which direction directly, or if they will just hide there, it might be best if we obscure ourselves at this moment.
You cast a fog cloud, and you do notice that it starts enveloping you and Rain. And
Ow! Do I recognize this arrow? The kind of make it was?
fairly nice made. Good quality point to it.
As we were in, do I recognize it was from the Droaam scouts?
Oh, it was definitely not from the Harpies. So you could make the conclusion that it's probably from the Droaam scouts. Yeah.
I need to return this.
Well, first we need to find them. So at the moment, I made sure that they don't see us.
I
That's
will
good.
telepathically communicate to the Harpy. Those scouts are in the valley. I just got hit with an arrow. Find the cloud of mist where it shouldn't be.
You hear a response. I think some reinforcements are heading your way. Your fellow visitors have also left the village.
As you can clearly see, the scouts are clearly not our friends.
I have not seen anything at this point.
Well, come on over then. As I kind of go back, as I put my back to Delphine's, and I just kind of prepare like for an attack as soon as I see little
Yeah.
short shit.
And as you do that, Dythun and Rebus, you further also leave the village and you follow along the same path that you came into the village. And you also see this dark valley ahead of you. But at one point, you also see this mist bank just lingering in the middle of this further clear night.
Hmm. I think Dythun would turn to Rebus and ask if, like, is that us or them?
Am I familiar with the spells that Rain and Delphine have?
I don't think you've seen us use this one.
Also not from Delphine.
Hmm.
I'll turn to Dythun and say, I'm not sure. There's no way to know. Seems magical. Certainly unnatural. But I'm afraid we'll have to either wait or get in there to know.
Dythun and Rebus, what's your passive perceptions?
14.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
much. 12.
Okay, they don't have to be high because I did not roll well. As you wonder at the mist bank that is just lingering there, not far away from you, and you can just see very vague shapes inside of it. You hear like a twig snapping on a ledge above you. And if you quickly look up, you just see this larger goblinoid form just looking down and then just go like and dashing out of sight.
How
Can
high
I
up?
throw my glaive?
About a good 15 feet above you. You could throw your
Can I
glaive if
throw
you
my
wanted
glaive
to.
like a javelin?
M-
I'll hurl it.
Make an attack roll to see.
That was very bad. With my strength still,
If you're throwing it, it's
I
dexterity.
guess, right? Okay, yeah. That's really bad. It's like a 7.
7. You
I rolled really low.
take your glaive and like fling it immediately as you spot the figure, but you underestimate the arc at which you have to throw it, and the glaive like ding goes against the rocky side of the ledge, just a few feet away from your target, and then the glaive like ding 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 scatters down the ledge back in front of you practically, but the target runs
Okay.
away. And Delphine
Can
and
I run?
Delphine and Rain, from within your cloud bank here, you do hear suddenly the sound of steel on stone outside of the fog cloud, and then something ding 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 falling down against the stone.
Hope that was Ava or Alice or one of the harpies. So I will turn to Rain. Let me help you with this, and I will basically break the arrow since it's quite long.
Mm-hmm.
So and but will not take it out yet, since this is quite hurtful.
Oh, you're gonna break the.
Just breaking it.
I insist on returning the favor. Thank you.
Tell me if it gets too much, and then I will. Since I have an idea how far the fog cloud stretches, I could step until one of the edges at this point.
You could, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So I wish to stealth to can I get an aerial direction of some sorts where I saw this probably goblin ran off to?
Sure.
So that I would like 10 degrees more to where I think he would run to.
Okay, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, then I will, and then I want to stealth into that direction and get my and prepare an attack with my pistol as soon as I see a small figure.
Gotcha. So you stealth to the edges of the fog cloud, kind of in the rough direction of where you saw the goblin head. You ready
Yeah,
your
just a little bit off, because it could be that he runs a bit more. So
Gotcha.
Uh,
Just a little
if-
bit.
Go ahead.
Just a little bit off. You stealth to the edges of the fog-filled
Mhm.
area, getting out there, getting your gun ready, just keeping your eyes peeled for anything small. Rain, what would you like to do?
Rain is familiar with this spell because she has it herself, and she will quietly head to the border of that cloud in the direction they were going, just to see if
Okay.
anything is coming at them. So should she need to just back into the mist?
All right. As
Also
you do
preparing
that,
tantrums.
Rain, you step further in towards the direction that you were going. And on the outside of this fog cloud, Dythun and Rebus, you still look up to the ledge, and you would also then see, Dythun, you do have dark vision, right?
Yeah, 60
Yeah.
feet.
60 feet. Rebus, you do not have dark vision, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Dythun, you would see once you notice that whoever was up on the ledge is gone, you look ahead of you, and you do see some rustling in the bushes and the undergrowth ahead of you. And as you look in that direction, you see that just peeking out over one of the bushes, you see just like the upper half of a bugbear looking head looking towards the fog cloud. Delphine, you are at the edges of the fog cloud there with your gun ready. And you keep your eyes trained into the darkness, looking at any kind of movement. It got really quiet. You just hear in one of the bushes next to you, there's some kind of insect that is rubbing its hind legs together, making some kind of trilling noise. The wind blows a little bit in your face, but then in the corner of your eye, you see something small move. You ready your pistol, you fire, give me an attack roll.
Yes.
Go, go, go.
Why? This is a 12.
12. The sound of the bullet released from the weapon echoes here, radiating. And Dythun and Rebus, you also clearly hear now the sound of someone firing a gun. And you see this bugbear figure, or the upper half of the face that you saw ahead of you, Dythun. You see that figure immediately like running away from the sound, just dashing away from you. And you also hear, all four of you hear this high-pitched sound, a yelping sound, as something small is also trying to get away from you. Delphine, you did miss your shot, but you now see
Yes.
there's a goblin figure scampering, trying who just jumped out of the way, landed on all four, and is now getting back up on his legs and is trying to run away from you.
Fuck. So we don't need this fog cloud anymore, I guess.
Well, you're on the edge of it, so I would assume that it's at your back and you see visibly in
Exactly.
front of you. That was my positioning assumption.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because it's a concentration, and I would like to cast something else so that I can basically dash behind that creature.
Rain is focused on the front. Ida says go for it.
Okay, so I will drop that spell and will cast Expeditious Retreat to get extra movement speed to dash behind that creature.
Gotcha.
Hello.
Gotcha. You cast Expeditious Retreat on you and just go full speed after them. And at this point, Dythun and Rebus, you see the fog cloud vanishes, and you see Rain standing there, and there's still some. You see her shirt or clothing. There's part of it is a bit blood soaked at this point. Something has impacted her, and you also see Delphine at ridiculous speed running ahead now, just going full speed, movement almost blurry at this point, after a small figure. Rebus.
I would like to add that the moment I heard the gunshot coming from the misty cloud, I knew, essentially, my thought process was okay, that's us. So, I don't need to pay attention to that. I turned to where the was a hobgoblin or a bugbear?
Bugbear?
That is spotted. And I will go to the side of the mountain and pick up my glaive and just jump and start climbing towards them.
Up
to
the
try
ledge,
and keep them from running. Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, Rebus, you just leap up
Just
there.
this automaton and superhuman strength, just coming after them.
Exactly. You climb up with your glaive back in your possession while the fog cloud vanishes. Rain standing now there, keeping an eye ahead of her. Rain, as the fog cloud vanishes, you also see ahead of you, you see the same bugbearish figure that Dythun saw, that is now running away from whatever was the source of this blasting sound. What would you like to do, Rain?
Running away from me, are they within 60 feet?
They are just at the edge of 60 feet.
You know what? That was very annoying.
Not fast enough.
We are... I am going to there's pain in my shoulder, but even though I lift it up and I touch the tiara on my head, and I press my fingers to the diamond, and I cast Chromatic Orb. That's my component, yo. So,
Okay.
and it was a bugbear running away from me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Let's make this cold damage, because that's how much I'm angry, and I'm going to roll a range spell attack.
Mm-hmm.
That's +5. Please roll good. 16 + 5 is 21.
Yeah, that hits.
Okay, and they are going to get... Why did I close this again?
3d8?
3d8 damage. I have 2d8.
Wow.
Ooh, 7 + 7, and one more. 6. 14 + 6 is a
20.
24.
No, it's 20.
20.
Yes.
7 + 7 +
Yes,
yeah, that's
14.
20.
Yeah, 20.
Welcome to Math 101. We're good at math here.
As it just kind of leaves my tiara.
Yeah, this freezing energy is fired from your tiara. The bugbear was getting up from behind the bushes. It's just looking over his shoulders and is now just covered in this sheen of ice as it blasts him to the ground. And you can just you can't hear anything because his mouth and face are covered by ice at this point, as he's just falls down to the ground. Delphine, you, in your blurry speed, catch up to that goblin that you wanted to shoot, and you easily, with your swiftness now, like hold on to him if you want to. Is there anything else that you would like to do with the goblin?
Well, that was the goblin that shoot rain.
You're not sure. It's a goblin. You're not sure if it's the goblin.
Do
that
I
shot
see
Rain.
if they have like
They have a bow
arrows,
and they have
quivers?
quivers. They have a quiver.
Okay,
yeah.
then I assume it's the goblin.
A
And as I
missing
come
arrow in their quiver.
Yes. I want to shoot them in the back.
Make an attack roll.
Dude.
That looks much better. This is an 18.
Yeah, that hits.
Ooh. Oh gosh, where's this? Oh, this is a lot of damage. These are 15 points of, no, not 15, 13 points. Sorry,
13
my
points.
bad.
As you're just catching up to them, they can't even turn around. You already have your next bullet in there and fire away. You just hear the goblin go, "Ah!" fall over forward, like the bullet just got into their back, and they're now just trying to get on their side and just defensively pull a dagger from their belt and just hold it up, like brandishing it up against you in a very defiant and defensive manner.
I look
I
over my
wanna
shoulder,
point-
put my
Yeah.
hand on my bloodied wound, and turn around and watch Delphine.
Well, slowing down in pace, and then just I'm basically next to him. I want to point the gun against him, and like clicking the trigger, but not shooting yet. But the goblin can see there's just this cold anger in her eyes.
You have the gun trained at the goblin. The lock on the back is pulled back already. A cold anger in your eyes. And how this plays out, we're going to find out next week as we see how
No!
this continues.
We all sit for tea and
Perfect,
crumpets.
I was so ready to go feral! Literally! Why?
Well, next week we're going to see how this further encounter plays out, but apparently there seems to be some kind of people in these tunnels who got a little bit impatient, even though you were just here for a few hours.
Yeah, we're gonna have a talk. Like,
No.
this is just not okay.
Rain feels kind of murder hobo right now. Mood. Oh, the
Can I just add one last roleplay thing before we stop?
One final one before we get out.
Okay, so before, like, Rebus, it would have happened, like, before Rebus goes to the ladder, to the cliff or the side of the mountain, like, picks up their glaive and goes after this person. Like, they were next to Dythun.
And so I turn to Dythun and I just go, "Is this your doing?" And then without really waiting for an answer, I will like run towards the mountain, pick up my glaive, run towards the person trying to get away.
Gotcha. One more
But
question
Rebus
that we
sounds
can...
angry for once. Like, they're usually very collected and like separated from the situation.
Mhm.
And right now they are about to, in kind of like battle ready, like about to rage kind of mode, and so they just snap at Dythun. Like, did you have anything to do with what's happening here?
Very fair.
Kind of like, I don't know if I can trust you now, because something doesn't add up right now.
Gotcha.
only Rain
So-
knows that Dythun has the Sanding Stone, I think. We didn't really discuss that.
Oh, but to be fair, I mean, it's a fair assumption. Dythun was the one saying
Yeah.
he had
This
connections.
is not because
so-
this is not because Rebus knows like that he has been talking or anything. This is just Rebus like trying to figure out if
why they're
like
here.
something from the inside might have to do with like why they're attacking now. Like if Dythun might have been doing something else, because he didn't seem super like interested in like learning about the culture, like the questions that Rebus was asking, and like talking to Ragi and all of the, you know, it's just like a train of thought that usually Rebus wouldn't have just put out there without thinking. Like they would have just gathered more information, but in the moment with like the adrenaline, you could call it, and the like fear of like this could go really wrong, and I'm starting to care about these people and I don't want anything to happen here, they just kind of snap and jump to conclusions like fast and kind of accuse Dythun of it.
Mhm.
Because
Understandable.
in their mind
What-
it could add up. So
Oh yeah.
One more thing that we're going to find out more about next week. So good reasons to come back then.
indeed.
All right. Well, thanks again, my great, fantastic players, for another fun session. But before we head out and leave these people for tonight, is there any kind of announcements or interesting things that you'd like to share before we wind this down, go to the tavern, and see all of these people next week again?
Just a brief reminder of what I talked about last time, that I'll be modeling in Queer Life Drawing in 2 weeks, the 13th, Sunday. And just that Queer Life Drawing is a great way to like have some practice your skills in figure drawing. It's an online figure drawing class. So you can find out about it at Queer Life Drawing on Instagram if you want. Just a reminder, because I have a lot of fun and I get to model for once instead of just being the artist. So, you know, if you want to join, feel free. It'd be really fun.
I think this time I've shared the right link in the chat directly to the Instagram of Queer Life Drawing.
Yeah, I mean, you shared the right link before as well. It's like, it has the information anyway. So
Gotcha. All right. Anything else from anyone else?
Not at the moment.
Don't forget, if you want to, we're appreciative very much that you're here and joining us and supporting us. But if you haven't already, one very easy thing to do would be to, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Behold this crazy looking link. If just 3 more people subscribe, we can get that changed to something very pretty. And it's also a nice milestone and recognition of the community that, well, people here. Kara was here before us, building, building, and building. We're just kind of hopefully keeping along her momentum. And I think it's a nice milestone to celebrate all the accomplishments that have gotten us this far. So please help us out with some subscribes, or recommend us to friends who like D&D, who like Eberron, and needs to be more Eberron content.
And also remember to give us a thumbs up on YouTube.
Or
so that
comment,
we
or
are
interact.
in comments, yeah, so that we get a bit more exposure.
That would be very kind.
Thank
And
you.
Yes, that would be.
we're also,
very,
of course,
very
just
kind.
happy for everyone who tunes in here, but any kind of support is very much appreciated.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, I guess that's it for today then. Thanks, everyone, for today. We're going to wind down now, but we're going to be back here on this channel next Tuesday again. Same time, same place. Take care of yourself. Thank you for watching, and see you next week then.
Bye-bye.
All righty.
see you then.
Bye-bye.
Nice.
Yo, wait. Yo, I'm making